Hello, everyone, and welcome to whatever this is. I'm Jeremy Jallin here with Drew Bennett Kennett, the law firm, and we've been wanting to do content for a while, so we figured with the big news today, we're going to start it up. How you doing, Drew?
Doing good, and we'll figure out what our name is. It may be on this first video. Who knows? We'll figure it out. But right now, we wanted to get this information to you pretty early on because it just came out today, so it's big news.
Yeah, as you can see, the wall behind us, we got prizing announcement for basically the entire season. Started out with regionals where it shot up a lot. It is basically doubled in a lot of aspects, and now you make top 8, you can get 3K.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are just getting back from Japan from Worlds. A lot of people stayed a little longer, and to come home to this is pretty great news. I know a lot of people woke up pretty happy this morning.
Also, a lot of people woke up pretty disappointed because they couldn't register for Pittsburgh or Peoria. I think this is gonna shoot attendance even more through the roof, and it's just gonna be a snowball effect from now on.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know a lot of people from other card games that are on board with Pokemon now. They already knew we had some of the best prize support, and now that numbers have doubled, I imagine the majority of regionals will be selling out. That's why I signed up for Peoria even though I wasn't sure if I was going yet. Then they announced this, and I bought my plane ticket. So
The good old sign up for the tournament first, worry about it later.
exactly.
Now, I know Sacramento registration is coming up soon as well. Uh,
Wednesday, I believe.
yeah, Wednesday. So hopefully this video will be out before then. Uh, you'd hope so, but who knows? We don't even have a name
we don't
yet.
we don't have a name. We'll figure that out.
And it's really there's now a tournament before the tournament of trying to register to get in, and I haven't really had much trouble, at least in the few I played in last year. Although I don't have a great sample size compared to a lot of other players. Um, but I feel like as long as you sit in front of your computer like 5 minutes before and you just watch the clock, like you need to be prepared. But it's been pretty good for at least the North American regionals. I know it's been a struggle for some of those special events out and elsewhere.
Yeah, and I think something like Pittsburgh sold out in like 24 minutes,
Yeah.
which in the past, when we first started back up, it was like 5 seconds or 2 minutes or something really short. But 24 minutes, if you're just on your computer, you will be getting a spot. And RK9 Labs has really updated their system, making it more achievable and less scary when you're trying to sign up, where it gives you a better error message of, hey, it's not sold out, go back to the bottom, try again, because of how they allocate the spots. Which I think is a pretty fair way for them to do it. We've seen with Worlds a lot of lottery things happening, and a lot of people disliked that. We've seen first come, first serve, a lot of people disliking that. Arcanum really tries to do the middle ground for that. And I mean, how do you find a fair way when there is not enough spots for the amount of people who want it? It's really hard no matter what you do. But I think Arcanine does a good job for it. But 24 minutes for it to sell out, and I think Peoria was still available as of yesterday. I haven't actually checked today, but spots were still available. Just be on top of it, and I know a lot of the time you don't really find where the registration is or what time it is, except for on X or Twitter. But we'll also be making these videos trying to give you that information about when those registrations will be active. So just like follow along on Twitter, making sure you know, follow some of the top players. Chris Shemansky always posts about it. RK9 Labs posts about it. Follow the right resources, and if you don't have a Twitter, you may want to just make one for that.
Yeah, it really is that barrier to pursuing a competitive like Pokemon season is having available resources like Arcanine Labs and all that stuff. And you can just go on the site directly and figure out stuff, but it's a lot easier when it's kind of crowdsourced on social media. Uh, and with some of these changes too, they are still pretty top heavy. We haven't really seen much uh, brought down. Like, so I always compare it to early like Grand Prix from Magic the Gathering, where they were called like 10Ks. Like winner would get 10K. and then the money would go all the way down. I got like 102nd and still got $150 in the tournament. The tournament was huge. It was like 7,000 some people, but uh, I don't know. I feel like we're finally creeping towards that kind of level, and I feel Pokemon's always been kind of a step behind, at least in their competitive scene, and now they're finally starting to catch up.
Yeah, I definitely think since returning from the COVID break, the amount of people in these events have just been insane. Capping events at 1,300 people, they've been huge. The 5,000 was realistic for before that, when we had under 1,000 people. Our biggest ones were in the 800, 900 range. Like, that's a little bit more realistic. But now when we have 126 people in day two of these regionals, the pricing needs to be a little bit higher. Have more reason to play out those last couple rounds instead of, yeah, I'm just going to go home. And I think that was a big thing that we started seeing, just having people not necessarily care as much of, oh, well, I did bad day two, so now I got the same pricing as if I didn't play day two. It was a waste of my time. And I think that's the biggest thing. On top of top 32, I think the pricing for top 32 was, what was it, $250 currently, or
Yeah,
was it, yeah, $250 for top 32. That doesn't even pay for flights for most places. Of course there's some places that you can fly to for 250 bucks, but it doesn't pay for most places. But now top 32 being 1,000, I think that's kind of one of the biggest reasons to go to more events. They took away the day two stipend or the day two invite, and instead we have more value in making top 32s not just championship points that people are fighting for. Which also, another point is just making it so there's less people who are kind of scooping people into their invites, right?
yeah,
It's something you see a lot where it's the final round and you guys are playing and one of you needs to make day two for the invite. However, now there's a lot of pricing on the table with $1,000. Like, that scooping into your invite thing is probably, we're probably going to see a lot less of that, because there's more than just championship points that we're fighting for those lower placements in the cash.
yeah. It is gonna be a bloodbath. Those last few rounds of day two, with people trying to lock up a top 16 spot because they started out poorly, or trying to make that top eight, but they lose, get bumped into top 32. That's a big gap of money. And uh, I also think it's going to lend itself to kind of better quality of gameplay overall, because people are going to be practicing harder. We're going to get people from different games, like you were saying, and uh, just a lot of great minds will be able to kind of figure out the meta more. And each of these regionals are going to be like the tournament that you want to win, especially with the invitation to Worlds, right? For winning a regionals.
Yeah, winning, you get that invitation. So automatic, no more points needed. So that's awesome.
And I think one thing it might lend itself to is what we saw uh, when we first went into the cash era. Of course, you winning the very first $5,000 regionals in Arizona. Uh,
Yep.
but it might incentivize some people to try and find alternative ways of winning, like cheating and stuff like that. I hope it's not, but I'm leaning more towards the competitive, like the quality of competition is gonna get a lot better. I'm
Yeah,
going towards that.
that just comes down to being on top of your opponents. Like, you can catch every type of cheating.
Yeah,
And just be more aware. With more on the line, there may be more people trying to do that. Just be aware of it. Be aware of it. Know what you're doing. Know know the situation. Know the game state, so that you can catch it when it happens.
yeah, and it's really great to see. I think, especially with the increase that we've had over the 8 or so years of entry that we've had for these tournaments, this kind of feels like a $70 tournament now, you know?
Oh yeah. Yep. Absolutely. The $70 price tag is so much less significant, and I'm sure a lot of people will agree with that. I'm sure some people will wish it. money, like you said, goes down to top 64, top 128 to make it even a little bit more worth it. However, these pricing for these regional events is so high up here in the top 32, which is the highest caliber of player, the ones who I feel like do kind of deserve that extra money there. They did drop the points down, so getting those points can happen from those lower placements, which is good because a lot of the time players who have not been into the top 32, their whole goal is to make worlds. So the championship points are very valuable to those players who want to just make their first worlds. I know we've all have people who just wanted to play in a worlds because they've been playing this game for 15 years and never have. So that dropping down is very good, and I'm glad that the pricing kind of stayed top heavy, personally.
Yeah, it does get costly for like a big family and stuff like that. It's just another part of the budget, but I know it feels a little bit better because then if you spike the tournament, then uh it is insignificant, like you said. I do think, or I worry that it's gonna increase going into the future because the amount of money available to win at these tournaments. And one thing that we haven't really mentioned is that this is all pre-tax. Like you're gonna get taxed on this money as well, so it's not gonna be the full like $10,000, but uh, it is something to consider.
That is true. And as someone who has won money from events, when you do win this money, it is still money you wouldn't have had unless you won it, but you do get taxed on it. So put some aside. Don't be crazy with it. Make sure you don't get screwed by taxes. That's something that if you haven't won money, it's not something that's really in your mind, but you do get a tax form at the end of the year and you do have to pay on them. And it is pretty hefty. So put some money aside. Be smart about it with it when you do win this money.
And anything else you want to touch on for regionals and stuff like
I
that?
think regionals, some of the big things is making sure you are ready to register right now because this announcement, a lot of new people will actually be jumping into the game. And a lot of people who were maybe only going to go to a few regionals, they're probably upping how many regionals they're going to. I know I personally am. I'm planning on going to a couple more regionals than I was. So be ready to register. It feels bad when you aren't able to. But it's really hard to make it as fair as possible, and I feel like the system we have is good. So kind of just be ready to register, be ready to play, actually test for it. I think a lot more people will be, like you said, ready to play in these events instead of just bringing their pet decks.
Yeah, I think this is gonna make the skill floor really high. Like people, or is that how you say it? I don't know.
Yes.
It's gonna be a lot easier for players to be better because we're just gonna see a quality in everyone and like the access of information people have, like limitless and everything that they do. It's really gonna be meta after meta after meta, unless you try to break it and bring something crazy and then end up on the
Yep.
bottom tables.
Which could happen.
All right, let's go to the bump for international championships, which uh
World's pricing.
the what?
It's
Oh
world's
yeah,
pricing.
yeah.
They
Uh
upped it quite a bit, more than doubled this one.
and so is this just all gonna go to Tord? Is that what it is?
We'll see. We'll see. I think it's the highest chance it'll go to him.
Yeah. I do feel like it's much needed. And spoilers for the future, there's one less international, which rest in
Yep.
peace, OCIC.
Oof.
Um, but yeah, it's good. It's needed all around. These tournaments are also hard to get into, hard to travel to for a lot of players, and uh, you want to feel like you get rewarded for doing well, even going down to however it goes down to.
Yeah, exactly. So having that extra pricing there definitely feels nice.
Yeah, all the way
How
to
much of this?
top 64.
Yeah, down all the way to top 64 for that 2,000 for top 64, which is actually a very realistic goal for a lot of people at these internets. Top 64, very realistic. How much of this is going to go toward and Azul? We'll see. They have kind of taken the majority of these IC value from the majority of people out there. However, maybe we'll see some people try to challenge them a little bit more at these ICs.
Yeah, and it just goes again with what we've been saying for regionals is like the quality competition is just going to go up. And I feel like these day ones, it's going to be a lot more or a lot more matches than non matches you would expect.
hmm And once again, less gentlemen's are going
Yeah.
to be happening because I just kind of think back to, yeah, it's a regionals, but I think back to when I was playing for top eight at our San Diego regionals last year, and I had the opportunity to do a gentleman's before the match, and I chose not to. I just usually do not do gentlemen's agreements for matches. And we ended up tying, making it so we were both top 16 instead of one being top 8 and one being top 32. This is something we're going to see a lot at all high level events, internats, regionals. In that last round, instead of gentlemen'sing to guarantee one of you in top 8 and the other in top 32, that tie is actually really relevant because it is such a large amount of money. Like here, it's an extra 2,000 or yeah, an extra $2,000 to be in top 16 than top 32. That tie is much more beneficial than the chance at that win, I feel like, with the gentlemen. So we'll see what happens with those in last rounds of events.
Yeah, it seems like every match point matters. And
hmm
that's going to echo to the fact like day one as well. If you're a person that's trying to win the tournament, like we say, you want to play out that 6-2 record, but you could still just take that ID and get top 64 at internationals, and you got yourself $2,000. Like
Yeah.
that for one extra match point instead of trying to play it out. Like, granted, it still could end up more in your favor too, and I think there's going to be a big debate just for that. But I don't know. It's just things that keep adding on to your decision making in these tournaments.
Yeah, a lot of extra factors, a lot of more reason to play right now.
And speaking of playing, we have the locations for our internets. They got rid of OCIC, which you weren't as big of a fan of Australia and Melbourne in general as me. I loved it the one time I got to go. I feel for all the players. They only have like 3 regionals announced and uh, no international anymore. They're gonna have to do a lot of traveling if they want to keep competitive and championship points at least. But
Yeah, I think we'll probably see some more OCIC regionals announced. I think the way Pokemon worded their message about why they did this, it seemed like there was some hope that more regionals would be sent over there, which is good. They need them
yeah,
because it is really unfortunate that we lost that OCIC. I wonder if that was part of the factor of why OCIC or why IC price support went up, is because now there's one less of them, so they were able to put that money towards the other prize supports, which could be a factor that whatever is it as relevant, did it happen, who knows. But yeah, hopefully they get more regionals. Feel bad for them. Personally didn't like traveling over there, as most Americans, because of how expensive it is, just like it's expensive for them to travel to us. So bittersweet. I feel for the players, happy for selfish reasons.
so you're saying OCIC died for the rest of the the prize support bump?
Which feels even worse, right? It feels like OC has been getting screwed the last couple years.
uh, well, moving on. Uh, we have Sao Paulo in November, finally not on Thanksgiving. Uh, and
Yes.
then you have the Excel Center in London in April, and then
Little sad that's not Berlin, but that's
yeah,
okay.
I mean with the London office for TPCI, you just have to expect it's so much easier to do it in London. They prove they can put on a great show with Worlds and then EUIC last year, so
Yeah.
and then the big one No more Ohio.
We're done.
I don't think I ever have to travel to Ohio for a year, and that's going to be great.
Which is phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, and New Orleans, I've personally never been there. I've not heard bad things about there, except for sometimes the weather gets a little funky. And I think this time of year is some of their worst weather, unfortunately, because that's like kind of humid, hot hurricane season. We will see how it is though, but apparently New Orleans is amazing. So I'm excited for it.
Well, I do want to note that it is early June instead of late June, early July. So that is a big difference that we've had in the past. And yeah, New Orleans, very big on food and their culture. And I honestly have been dying to travel there. I think it'll be a great time. I'm gonna eat a lot of beignets, uh, have a lot of gumbo, and I think it'll be a good time.
Well, absolutely, and it's something I don't think we have dates for Worlds yet. So the fact that it's early June makes me wonder if Worlds might be getting pushed a little early August as well. We'll see. I don't think we have information on that yet, but it would kind of make sense if they push this one up so much because this is the last tournament of the year.
Yeah, and I think early worlds would be pretty good too. I know a lot of teachers and kids in school have been clamoring for worlds, maybe not in August.
Hmm.
Uh, so that'll be interesting to see. We still are awaiting that Hawaii World state. So uh,
That'll be the last thing we get. That and rotation, whatever information we're going to get on that.
yeah, I could honestly expect maybe no rotation until like one of these big tournaments.
Yeah, they could do the mid-season rotation. We're speculating now mid-season rotation, or just no rotation this year and then rotate two blocks, two letters at the end of Worlds next year if they're trying to balance it out. See,
Uh, but I don't know. I'm just very excited to not have to go to Ohio. I've been there too many times, and I didn't even get to experience North Market that much this time. So
I mean North Market,
it's the only good thing there, though. No, I'm kidding.
it's
There's a lot of other good things, but I'm just being over dramatic.
there's some good stuff in Ohio. It's one of those I enjoyed it the first time I was there. Uh, then after that, it lost its luster for me
Yeah, I much
personally.
preferred
I just
Cleveland.
I just wanted to change it up. That's all I care about, which is why I wish it was somewhere other than the Excel Center. I just want it to be changed up a little bit. I can't speak for Sao Paulo. I've never been to that internet, but I just like it changing up. Give us new places to go to, so that we can experience that aspect of the game that people love, traveling to new places instead of visiting the same city, Peoria, Illinois, 2 years in a row.
Speaking of visiting the same city, but in a positive aspect, with regionals, I was really happy to see that we're going to be in Indianapolis instead of Fort Wayne.
Mm, yeah.
And I feel that with the price support increase and just the space they're going to have there, it has the possibility to rival like somewhere like Orlando for the biggest regionals this season.
You think so? You're thinking that Indy will be the biggest regionals over Orlando. I'm looking at the list, seeing if there's any contenders.
Well, so yeah, I think they're going to be like one and two. Uh,
You think I don't know much about San Antonio, but it's harder to get to than Dallas, right?
yeah.
Because San Antonio's new, but it's Texas, which is usually one of the biggest ones. But I think San Antonio's a little bit harder to get to, so I think I would agree with you. However, I don't think Orlando's going to get beat out. I think we're still good. Orlando will still beat out Indy this year.
Well, we'll have to see. Maybe that could be our running gag.
Which one's going to be bigger there?
All right, and then I think the last thing we're talking about is the world's prize increase, which just essentially doubled,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. You gotta feel for Vance just winning worlds and saying, "Oh yeah, you could have done this."
Feels bad. But yeah, I mean, you have to if you're increasing internats to 25,000, you have to increase worlds. It's not like world
Yeah.
is going to have the same pricing, so makes sense. We would see this as well come out, but yeah, it feels bad for everyone who did really well this season. Those two-time regional champions that we had multiples of this year, and then they upped the pricing. But hey, do it again next year. You did it one year, do it again.
Yeah, and I think it wouldn't have happened without all them, right? It's
Hmm.
kind of you have to show a proof in concept before you can get better support, and I think we did that, and we just need to keep doing it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the regional winner getting their Worlds invite can probably just call it the Piper rule. The
Yeah.
fact that it won two regionals and didn't have their invite at the beginning of the season. So I think that's the Piper rule there.
Yeah, she definitely championed that one, unfortunately, and then somehow woke up with an invite after they decreased the championship points
Yeah,
requirement for it.
exactly.
Uh, I am excited for this season, though. It's going to be pretty intense, and especially for these North American regionals, and of course the European regionals that they're kind of coinciding the weekends with. So if there's going to be a North American regionals, there won't be a regionals in Europe, and then if there's regionals in Europe, there won't be a regionals in North America. One thing we didn't talk about, I guess, is the special events that they're not going to be paying out these prize support here.
No, I do not believe so. I didn't actually look at special events because we don't have them in
Well,
the
so I
US.
think the reasoning for special events is because they're in places that have
Need the
stricter gambling
points.
laws.
Oh, interesting. I thought it was specifically kind of like people who needed points in areas that were low population, like low regional populations.
No, but
So it was either.
you like Barcelona or something.
Hmm.
They just do not appreciate winning money. Uh,
Interesting. Okay.
so I think it's their way around it. But
Interesting.
I think that's going to put a premium on the ones that are actually regionals, and these
Mhm.
North American regionals. I think we're going to see a lot more international travel too.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. I think that special events stock has gone down significantly. Of course, they're going to be good for players who need those points for their invite, but also with the day two getting taken away for the top rated players, I think special events were a big place for those players to kind of go and get those last little bits to remain in the top 16 or the top 22, depending on what region you're in. So I think the special event stocks are plummeted right now. Go to regionals.
Go to regionals. Don't forget to sign up for Sacramento on the 30th.
Yes,
And
that's Wednesday, I believe, right? Yeah.
I believe so, yes. Uh, other than that, I don't know. I guess this is our way of committing ourselves to doing something. So,
Right? Yeah, I guess we're doing something. If this gets posted, I guess we'll see.
yeah.
We'll see. Maybe we just wasted all of our time here.
All right. Well, I've been Jeremy, and that's been Drew. And we'll maybe see you later.
Yeah, we'll see you later. We'll start making some content for you, bringing you guys some information here.